Hi, this is RJ, the Hope Coach from Jersey Hope Coaching, and I'm glad you've joined me tonight. We're going to be talking about making positive change in your parenting style. One of the things that I discovered after I wrote an article about the three-step plan to change was that parents were still frustrated with exactly how this could work. Parents are in this habit of yelling at their kids. The kids don't listen. Gets into this snowball effect where you yell more, your child listens less, and it's just not working. So what I thought I would do was go over some of the principles that are behind my three-step plan to change, and let's see if we can make it make a little bit more sense. First of all, it really helps to take a look at where you come from. What's your history? What kind of parenting did you receive as a child? Were you yelled at? That's something really important to know because you will probably copy the parenting style that you were parented with unless you make a mindful decision to do something different. So take some time, think back to what your childhood was like, not to dig into a whole bunch of trauma if it was a bad experience for you, but just to remember what the sound of your parents' voice was like. What was that interaction like for you? What did you wish your parents had done differently? And then use that information to now fast forward to the present and see what you might want to change right now in your interaction with your teenager. So let's take a look at that. In your regular day-to-day activities with your teenager, do you usually raise your voice? Do you repeat the same thing over and over and over, and they either roll their eyes or they argue with you or they act like a miniature attorney and they're presenting their case and expect you to capitulate, change your mind, take away a consequence? That's probably something that you might want to change. And here's why. The longer you continue that habit of raising your voice and having them not respond the way you want to, the more you train them in two things. Number one is you're training your kids to ignore you, but even more importantly, you have a responsibility to raise your children so that when they reach adulthood, when they're out there interacting in higher education, in employment situations, that they have the tools that they need to interact responsibly. And setting them up so that they continually argue or ignore you is probably not the best way to do that. So now that we've established that you need to make a change with the way you interact, how to do that, and that's where the three-step plan comes in. Now, I want to make it really clear, even though I've broken this down into a three-step plan, it's not easy. I know when I first started making a change in the way I communicated with my kids, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It took a long time. It took a lot of mistakes. And I will tell you, I still do it wrong. I still raise my voice. I still engage in arguments with my kids, not nearly as often, but it still happens. I'm human, and I was raised with that was normal. It was normal to have a parent yelling at a child. That was my normal. So I had to completely change my mindset and then learn a new way of relating. So here's how the three-step plan works. If you notice that your voice is going up, the volume's getting loud, at whatever point that you start paying attention to what that is and what your behavior is, stop. Completely stop talking and let there be a moment of silence. That is a lot harder than it sounds. Just to tell people, we'll just stop talking. Okay, there's more to it than that, but think of a giant stop sign. And the minute you hear your volume going up, put up the stop sign to yourself. Now, here's the power of what we're trying to do. There will be an effect on your child, but remember, you can't necessarily control the way your child responds to you. You can set the stage, you can have an atmosphere that is most likely to get the response that you want, but the one thing that you completely can control with practice is your own behavior, the sound of your own voice, the things that you say, the things that you choose not to say anymore. So that stop sign is for you. And I can tell you from experience and from working with an awful lot of parents that the minute you stop, the minute you disengage from that battle with your child, they will likely try and get you back. Because even if they hate it, it's familiar. It's what they know. It's the engagement that they know. And kids love to engage. So what we're going to do farther down the road is we're going to give them a better way to engage. But for now, big stop sign, stop talking. Then I want you to pick a sentence. My sentence is, I choose not to talk anymore because I'm getting angry. And then no matter what my child says, I do not respond. That is incredibly challenging to carry through with. They might try and re-engage you in the argument. They might escalate or try to escalate the argument. They might try and make you angry. They might make you angry. You might be sitting there just absolutely seething. But the goal is to give it 10 minutes. Now, I encourage parents, walk outside. Run to the store and get a gallon of milk. Do something to take you out of that immediate crisis. This child is trying to get me back into the familiar, we're going to play this little war between us. So after 10 minutes, hopefully you've calmed down a lot, and then you've got a choice. If what was being discussed before is something really, really important, a consequence for misbehavior or a principle that you really feel that your child needs to understand your position on or something like that, then you can choose a completely different way of re-engaging on the subject without re-engaging an argument. So the way that might work, let's say Johnny came home late last night. He was a half hour late and you were upset and you started to yell. And then big stop sign, I'm choosing not to talk right now because I'm getting angry. Walk away, take your 10 minutes or longer if you need it. There's been times I've needed a lot longer. Then when you come back, then you can say, you know what, Johnny, I feel like we've got a problem here and I'm still your parent. So let's sit down and discuss what to do, what you can expect, what I can expect about this boundary about when you need to come home. Because what we've been doing isn't working, but I don't want to be always getting mad at you, and this whole arguing thing doesn't help. So let's sit down and have a calm conversation. Now, Johnny might not be ready to do that. He might still be in argument mode. So again, my suggestion would be, say, you let me know when you're ready to have a conversation about this, because it's that important. We really need to do it. And then let it go. You will discover, I guarantee you, if you practice this faithfully and make a bunch of mistakes and give yourself permission to make a bunch of mistakes, but if you practice it faithfully, your child will begin to believe you when you tell them, I'm choosing to stop talking now because I'm getting angry. What you're doing is you're giving them the respect to take care of yourself. You're creating a place of safety for them because you're not dumping your anger on them. And you're creating a home where there's calm, there's respectful communication. And respectful communication is not perfect communication. Please remember that. Respectful communication is each person with the goal that they will do the best they can to take care of themselves and do their job. Now, your job as a parent is to be the parent. Your job as a child is to work towards that adulthood. So, growing in responsibility, growing in an ability to understand consequences for behavior, growing in the habits of having healthy communication patterns. So I challenge you to try it. The example that I gave, both in this video and on my blog article, I've had several parents say it's too simplistic. You don't understand my family. It's a big, big deal in my family. And I will tell you, yes, I do. I came from craziness, and I had many, many years of habit of doing it the wrong way with my children. and I've struggled a whole bunch with this. I've also helped a whole lot of parents find a better way. So here's my challenge to you. Write to me with your situation and let me come up with a plan for you that specifically gives you 1, 2, 3, try these steps, and let's move forward together because there is always hope.